what I loved about CrossFit, I come from just a background of insecurity and bullying growing up and like self-image problems, like being a very athletic girl, that to be a part of a community that didn't see me as a mistake or, not feminine or not a woman or not girly, like all these things. They didn't look at me like that. It's completely different.
Welcome to Persister with Candace Lowry. I am Candace Lowry. What is a persister? A persister is a little play on words of nevertheless she persisted, but also a woman who has truly broken through that glass ceiling and has really forged a path and a name for herself in whatever business she's in. Persister with Candace Lowry is a CastBox original produced alongside Studio 71. CastBox is the fastest growing, highest rated podcast app on both iOS and Android, where you can find all of your favorite podcasts. You can listen to Persister with Candace Lowry wherever you get your podcasts, but I hope you'll give CastBox a shot because I think it's the best. All right, everybody, welcome back to Persister with Candace Lowry. I am Candace Lowry, and today I'm so excited to have Brooke Ence on. Let's just go through a couple things that you've established in life. You have a clothing line that sold out in 24 hours, right?
Yes, the first launch.
Yeah, and you competed in the CrossFit Games how many times?
One time, 2015, my rookie year, I had 2 rookie wins. Won 2 events. I won my region that year, and then I went on to film Wonder Woman, the Justice League in 2016. I had a spinal fusion in 2017. With that, made it back to regionals 2018, and I'm now currently, recovering some other parts of my body that are a little bit beat up, and I'm very motivated with my being an entrepreneur and starting businesses, but also listening to my doctor, listening to my body, and training to get back to a competitive level.
Yeah.
A competitive level that I want.
Yeah. Comfortable.
I could definitely go and find a competition right now to do, but not at the level that I want to be at.
And now you've started a podcast, Between the Reps.
Yes.
With Gina, who's here, hiding.
She is hiding.
Well, I am very excited to ask you a ton of questions that range from CrossFit to just being an entrepreneur in general, and really, fighting through some of those stereotypes of being a woman and everything like that. But every time I have someone on, I ask them just an icebreaker question.
Okay.
And I feel like this is a good one for you, and I'm very much into trying diets, exposing some diets. And so my question to you is, what do you think is the biggest diet lie out there right now?
Oh, I feel like there's just so many.
Yeah.
But even with that answer, there something works for everybody. That's the problem. There are things that are going to work for some people and for sure not work for other people. And that's why it's so important to, I think, focus on your goals and then also look at things of like your health and find what's going to work best for you, because some people have dietary restrictions. But I don't necessarily, maybe let's say one thing, like good fat doesn't mean you should eat all of it.
Yeah, exactly.
People assume that, good fats. And fat packs a punch. And if you're trying to lose weight, that's going to make it very, very difficult. Some people are outliers, though. I know athletes, mostly athletes, right? So athletes that are like maybe endurance athletes, or you're just an outlier and your body functions better by fueling itself with fat over carbohydrates. You probably can eat all the good fats because that's how your body is functioning. But that is not the majority. And what we need to look at, like for me and like being a coach or being in a gym, is we look at, across a big board of a lot of people, we look at rules of thumbs and ways to approach diets, and it's never really to focus on overdoing anything. Like too much of anything is not good for you.
Right.
Yeah, just like too much protein, probably not a good idea. Too many carbohydrates, not a good idea.
I would love that though.
I know, right? Carbs are the enemy.
Carbs only.
Yeah, and then you have performance athletes that typically function better with a higher carb, low-fat diet. But again, there are people that are opposite.
Yeah, and I feel like sometimes, especially young girls, like don't realize that sometimes, especially when they have like this flat tummy tea and stuff that comes out. And it's like, it's frustrating that people try to like starve themselves and focus on that when when I started losing weight and getting fit, I was eating more, you know?
Because your body, if you're constantly like in starvation mode, unless that's something that I guess you would be you'd maintain for a very long time. It's not healthy, but you may lose weight. But if your body's in starvation mode, it doesn't want to die. So we're going to hang on to stuff. And especially if you don't have a consistent diet. Your diet does not need to be constantly varied like your training does. It needs consistency. And the amount of protein, fat, and carb you should be intaking or eating needs to depend on your weight, your age, your goal, what kind of performance are you eating for? Are you eating to maintain? Or are you sedentary? Do you sit at work all day? Are you active? I mean, typically, like when I'm talking to someone about their diet, I'm going to look at their age. If you're older, automatically, based on a lot of people, we can maintain a leaner mass by eating a lower carbohydrate diet and actually kind of fueling more with fat. But even then, you need to have your fat within reason. That doesn't mean you eat fat till you're full.
Right. Just live off avocados.
Yeah, they are delicious, but so like within reason.
So I want to talk about how you got to this point of being just so educated and knowledgeable about not only fitness but nutrition, and you started out as a gymnast and dancer. So what got you to the point of getting into CrossFit?
From a very young age, I wanted to do everything. I played all the sports. I was very athletic. All my siblings are athletes, my parents, and I was a modern dance major at the University of Utah. When I was younger, I did gymnastics. I was on the swim team. I played softball. And there was many other things I wanted to do, but I didn't have time for. Like I wanted to do karate. I wanted to barrel race. I definitely come from a country family. And I always was active. And then I always was physically like muscular built, right? And I just had an opportunity. I was asked to audition for Lowry, which is like a Cirque du Soleil show in Vegas. And there were things I would need to do that I hadn't really ever done, like rope climbs and some different things on the rings, and I hadn't done that. And so a friend of mine actually mentioned, there's this new gym, it's called Dixie CrossFit. It's in St. George, Utah. I'm from Southern Utah, and I think they could probably help you, with some of those things. And I went in there, and it totally kicked my butt. And what I loved about it is prior to that, I had been doing more of like your conventional training, like, bodybuilding, and just like to train, because I was a full-time student at the University of Utah as a dance major. But what I loved about CrossFit was not only do I look athletic and fit, I perform. You like got like the performance to back it. And I liked that. And I loved that you put in the work and you did well because you put in the work, and it wasn't a line of judges deciding like what was better that year. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do, and it did not matter about your appearance. It doesn't matter what you look like. It mattered how you performed, and I come from just a background of insecurity and bullying growing up, and like self-image problems, like being a very athletic girl, that to be a part of a community that didn't see me as a mistake or, not feminine or not a woman or not girly, like all these things. They didn't look at me like that. It's completely different. And And I fell in love with it right away. And kind of the rest is history.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here I am.
Yeah. And you said something interesting about like growing up when you kind of don't look like all the other typical girls. And I know I, growing up, was very athletic, sporty, never was that like thin girl who could live off Lunchables and be, super skinny. And that kind of really hit me hard growing up. So, when you were faced with that, or when you see girls that are kind of going through that now.
I get messages.
Oh, you do?
Tons. Oh my gosh. I mean, I talk to a lot of teen girls. Every event I go to, I have coaches that bring the girls up and we talk, and we, it's tough. And like Gina's daughter, she's 17, and when I was growing up, people are ruthless. Like kids are mean, but kids I feel like they're even more mean these days.
Social media too.
And it's rough. It's hard when you're trying to have a thick skin and you already are struggling with your own negative self-talk. And so that takes a lot of effort to try and let that go, or to like not have that. So when you're already dealing with that, but now you've got people verbally, either like kids nowadays, like, and when I was young, at you. Like we didn't have Instagram. It was, people were just mean to your face, and people are still mean to me, or I hear people say things under their breath all the time. But you've got that, it's very hard to not get insecure or to not feel bad. And it's going to last a long time. Like just how much time, especially being in school, think of all those years. Like it's, nobody's perfect anymore. And people can find something wrong with you constantly. And people get offended really easily these days.
God, I know.
But
it's the worst.
With that said, like it's hard for kids, and that's definitely something that I hope that I can do, and I definitely try to do through, being vulnerable and talking, and being someone who, is breaking the mold and can be someone that can, help younger girls or older girls or, women and boys, I mean, feel better and be more confident in themselves and committing to like be themselves and not let someone else, decide, like basically make decisions for you.
Right.
Because they have not, whatever they say or whatever they do, it's not going to affect what you have to do. But if you let it get to you, it'll change your course.
Yeah. And so when even to this day, I still feel like even though things are changing, it seems like sometimes even such fit women get these hate comments that are like, you shouldn't be muscular, you shouldn't look like that. So how do you kind of keep that negativity out?
For me, it's been years of, I've been through a couple rough years. And when things started to go south, like we don't really need to get into it too much, but I went to the CrossFit Games in 2015, 2016. I got asked to audition for Wonder Woman. I did that. I almost didn't do it because I was really nervous that I would like let myself down, let my coaches down. And we decided, I needed to do it. Did that, came back. I was injured at regionals. I had really bad tendonitis. I was not training and preparing the way everyone else was, but I still knew that I was fit and I was strong enough to still qualify. Well, I was 1 point out. I missed qualification in 2016 by 1 point. And I went dark on social media during the competition weekend. And I remember logging back in. And this is the first moment where like I really dealt with imposter syndrome. So just people making really, really awful comments, and not just about my appearance anymore. It was about my performance. It was about being a fluke, and it was a fluke that I won the regional the year before. It was a fluke that I went to the CrossFit Games and won 2 events. And I'm washed up. I'm never coming back. I mean, and just so many hurtful things and stuff that was so much worse than that. And I think I have naturally just blocked them out because they're so bad. And I was a wreck. It was such an awful experience and like so sad. But I needed that to be where I am now. And that wasn't the rest of it. You know what I mean? Like I kind of dug myself out of a super dark hole. And started preparing for 2017. I'm like, all right, this is my comeback year. I'm going to do it. I'm going to show everyone that I went there because I was meant to, because I put in the work, and then right before, and I was the strongest I had been. And then right before the Open and the season started, I ended up, getting an MRI because I was having some really bad strength loss and pain, and I had let that go for a long time. But I had an extremely herniated disc in a C6, C7, and it was really bad. My spinal cord was super pinched in half, and my doctor said if you do not get it fixed, there's no telling if it would want to try and herniate anymore, and if it did, you would have severe permanent damage. And then there's crazy stuff like I was getting my adjusted 4 days a week prior to this.
Yeah, so is that common? I mean, are injuries relatively common in CrossFit?
Injuries are relatively common in everything. People love to be like, oh, don't do CrossFit, you'll get injured. Let me remind you guys of something. I'm on a soapbox, Candace.
That's okay.
Let me remind you of something. First of all, CrossFit as a competition is not CrossFit as a training methodology. Someone that wants to play football, you ain't going to the NFL. It's the same thing. You can play football and play it safe. You can play football and play touch. You can play flag. You don't have to go full contact. CrossFit's the same. A CrossFit Games athlete, someone who chooses to train and make it much more than a hobby or much more than a way to stay healthy and be functionally fit your whole life, that is different. But even if you're just doing it to be healthy, you're moving your body through space at intensity. You are doing activities that even when you're young, people roll their ankle walking across the street, A friend of mine tore his ACL playing basketball, like a pickup game of basketball. Another friend of mine tore his ACL playing racquetball. You know what I mean? Like, it just happens. If you're doing something active, if you are pushing your body to its limit to get stronger, to have adaptation, to be fitter, you are going to be at risk of minor injuries. So it's not a matter of like, don't do something because you're scared of getting injured. If you go into it with the mindset of, what am I going to do when something happens? How can I pay more attention to my body? Literally, you are in control of what you are doing. Be aware of how things feel. Be aware of your own body and how you're moving it. Care about technique. Care about those things. And you will be injured far less often. Too many people want to blame it on the gym or the training. But in reality, no one can make you do something. Only you can. And that's what's beautiful about CrossFit is it is infinitely scalable. And my intensity is relative, right? Like me and you might do a workout. The rate, or like my 100% would probably look quite a bit different than your 100%.
Right.
Or like maybe it may look very similar. It's going to feel the exact same, but it may take I may get a little bit further than you. It will take longer for me to reach a point of serious fatigue than it may take you. But that doesn't mean that, that you're doing it wrong. It just means that I've just been able to compound my fitness, and I'm just getting fitter. I'm more experienced. That's all it is.
Right.
But both of us have to still be aware of our body.
Yeah, it sounds very personal.
It's very personal.
And that's what everybody who I've seen go into CrossFit, it seems like it's all about you against you, and not
100%. Yeah. And it's very personal, but it's also, because CrossFit is a sport, I will say, it's amazing because it's so relatable. It is something that regardless of your age, how advanced you are, whether you're doing it for fun or you're doing it for competition, it is a platform where everyone can understand and relate to anyone who has done it. And that is what I think keeps everyone so tight-knit and makes it such an amazing community. When you've put yourself through a workout, yes, I know it's a workout, but when you've put yourself through a workout and you've reached a point where you are like, it's hard to breathe or you're suffering and, whatever that feels like, the hurt, it makes you care. It's almost like you care for people. You care for the other people so much more because you've been there.
It's like a family kind of
It really
feeling.
is, and I think it's really important for people to realize it's different. CrossFit as a sport is different than CrossFit as a training methodology. If it wasn't, then my mom, at 59 years old, wouldn't be doing it every day at 5 a.m.
Right.
CrossFit for her helped her find a brain tumor that she had. My mom had to have brain surgery. And for her, it was every time she really exerted herself, she was getting these gnarly headache and like going numb. And she ended up getting a CT scan and they had to go in and cut a giant benign tumor out. And I'm not saying like do CrossFit because it's going to find if you have cancer. But I mean, like, it's for everyone. And I think if you take control of yourself and take control of what you're doing and stop blaming other people, you can slow down.
Yeah.
If it feels uncomfortable, you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
So, and talk to your coach. Like if something's like kind of weird, like, I don't know. And they'll be like, oh, let me watch you. And with that said too, like not all coaches they're not equal. Right. So test out gyms, test out coaches, find a place where you fit. And if you're like, I just don't really like CrossFit, but I like to train really hard. Awesome.
Yeah.
It's just fitness. It's just health.
Yeah. And I really want to talk about like moving forward from just CrossFit and kind of becoming an entrepreneur as well. So right when we get back, right after this break. The right hire can make a huge impact on your business. That's why it's so important to find the right person. But where do you find that person? You could try posting the job on job boards, but can you really be sure the right person sees your job? Instead, find the person who will help you grow your business with LinkedIn. As the world's largest professional network, people go to LinkedIn every day to grow professionally and discover job opportunities. I know I do. And 70% of the U.S. workforce is already there. LinkedIn Jobs matches people to your role based on more of who they really are, their skills, their interests, and even how open they are to new opportunities. This way, your job gets seen by more of the right people. Most LinkedIn members haven't recently visited the top job boards, but 9 out of 10 members are open to new opportunities, so you can only reach them on LinkedIn. That's why a new hire is made every 10 seconds using LinkedIn. And businesses rate LinkedIn 40% higher than job boards at delivering quality candidates. Hurry to linkedin.com/persister and get $50 off your first job post. That's linkedin.com/persister to get $50 off your job post. linkedin.com/persister. Terms and conditions apply. Hi everyone, welcome back to Persister. I have my special guest Brooke Ence here, and I want to get a little more into transitioning from just CrossFit and kind of opening up into the entrepreneurial world, especially with Incewear, now your podcast. I feel like, how do you juggle everything?
Oh man, I'm learning as I go. But I will say, like CrossFit is like a huge fitness and health is a huge part of my life, and CrossFit is definitely a big piece of that. But I've always kind of had the mindset of a couple things since I was very young. I want to do it all. I grew up in musical theater, and like big thing for us was being a triple threat. That's kind of how I would think of myself now is, if you're a triple threat, you're a singer, you're a dancer, you're an actor, doing all these things. And it takes a lot of work, but it takes a special kind of person. Not everyone's cut out for it in that world, and not everyone's cut out for this in this world. Not everyone's cut out to, host a podcast. And, I do a little at a time. I slowly, I don't grow before I'm ready to. I don't add things on before it really feels like it needs to be done. And then when I take chances, even when they feel a little bit uncomfortable. For instance, when I left my clothing and shoe sponsor, it wasn't to start a clothing brand. we just had some differences that, to me, I felt like if I would have stayed, it was kind of like I was being, like my potential was being capped, you know, and I was willing to sacrifice pay and sacrifice, you know, a lot of things and support just so I'd have the opportunity to do something else if something came up, like something that would give me the future that I wanted. Because every decision that I made, whether it was, you know, especially with, we'll just say this, if a sponsor wanted to work with me, I did not care what they could give me right up front. I wanted to know what they saw from me 5-10 years down the road. Because I can work a full-time job, I can work a part-time job, and when you're a CrossFit athlete or an athlete in general, you kind of get to a point where you end up not working, you end up training full-time, and then sponsors come on because they kind of help support you. And you work for them. A sponsorship is a job.
Right.
All you athletes out there, they're like, what? It is a job. So when you're going to sign on for a company, be willing to, like, hopefully make it be something you really believe in and you love them. One, you'll do a better job because it will be genuine. And two, it won't feel like work because you'll be supporting something that you love. But I always wanted to know, what can you give me or how can you help me for the future? Because I'm always thinking about
what's
the
next?
Bigger career that I want, you know, the legacy. And how can I make this last way longer than me as an athlete? And how can I make the brand or the message last beyond me? You know, and things just naturally happened. The opportunity to do apparel kind of fell into my lap, and I was really nervous because, like, I always saw myself wanting to do apparel, and I thought I would do it with my old sponsor, but I kind of thought, you know, I'll be around it, and then I kind of will get an idea of how to do it because I don't know how to do it.
Exactly.
You know, and this opportunity fell in my lap, and I'm kind of learning as I go and just making sure I stay true to, you know, my brand, my message, and wanting to help people. And I think that has really driven me in always the right direction, and especially into the direction of people that also want what I want, and they want it to work just as much or even more than I do. And I've found that with all the new businesses I'm doing or things I'm juggling, it could look like I'm doing it on my own, but I have teams of people. So, you know, that helps with the juggling. It doesn't feel so much like juggling all the time. When you have people who you can rely on, and even then it's kind of scary, you know, when you're like, you go, you know, Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes, and you're like, I hope that it works. And there's definitely times when it doesn't, but those like growing pains are necessary, and then, you know, will only make you better or make the business better or smarter. And then for me, more valuable to people when I'm talking about things, you know, I've experienced things, and now you can learn from me, you know?
Yeah. And my dad, both my parents are very like business oriented, very independent people. My mom is very, you know, strong and entrepreneurial.
Same.
And my dad, he's like, now, Candace, sometimes boys will find it intimidating and turned off that you're like so good at what you do. And so have you ever experienced that where you're almost kind of intimidating, not only to, you know, other guys, but even like your husband?
I think that there's definitely been moments where maybe my husband has thought, you know, if he's ever felt like he was maybe jealous of like what I was doing versus what he was doing, it was very never clear. But what I do know is, like, for him, he loves it. Like, he loves to watch me be successful. He loves it, you know, but there have been a couple times where I think he's maybe felt a little bit like insecure. And I think it would mostly come from maybe, it can be a lot of things, you know, like how things are going for work for him. You know, it's like sometimes everyone, you'll go, you know, work will be good, or relationships or business or whatever, friendships kind of go, you know, sometimes they'll be a little rocky and then they'll get really good. So that will happen in business too, for me, for him. So really could have been a time where it was kind of rocky for him at work, and if mine was, really good, it's like you want it too.
Right. Exactly.
But I definitely don't think that I'm intimidating, but I have been told that I am intimidating. It is not, one, I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
I like carrying my mom she's a boss, okay? And she runs the house, but so does my dad. My parents still say they created monsters with their kids, but I like to take care of people. When I care about something, I'm very passionate, but I also, I love hard too. So I can imagine that someone who looks like me, who might be in a position of power or like making power moves, could definitely come across as intimidating. I already kind of have like a powerful presence, which I want, and I'm not going to soften it for anybody.
Yeah.
But I would hope that some people that if they really want to know me will just talk to me, because as soon as I talk to you, you'll know that I'm not like some mean,
some horrible monster.
Yeah.
No, but there's something so great about being able to look back and be like, I did this all on my own. Like, I made this, it's mine. And there are a lot of situations that, especially women go through where they're scared to kind of break away from what is their kind of partnership and take that extra step to just be like, I can be a boss too, But I think there is something so rewarding about kind of being intimidating and being strong and being like, you can be scared of me if you want, but this is, who I am. And looking, you always say you're kind of looking towards the future and one step ahead of everything. So what's kind of the next thing that you want to conquer, I guess?
Well, I do have quite a few things going on. In fact, like me and Gina were talking about some of the stuff, like businesses I have going on. And in the moment of it, I even reminded myself of things that I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this business I helped launch too. So at the time being, I'm really trying to like focus on the handful of things that they're in like a very important stage of growth. Mm-hmm. And when that works, when we get like through that, mm-hmm. those are my future. Mm-hmm. So like a couple of things, apparel for sure. You start an apparel company and you don't have a lot of money, so right. you stay within reason, and custom stuff takes time. So now at this point, we've got a lot of great custom stuff. Me and Gina went to Vegas. I was there for the Magic show, and we met tons of new manufacturers and found fabric, and I will not make or sell something that I do not love. Right. So things take time. But within that, I have, we will be in a storefront, hopefully in a pop-up shop early next year. Mm-hmm. In the UK, but that's a big goal for me, is to get into a storefront, mm-hmm. and that would be amazing. And that's a plan. And right. when I usually put my mind to something, I will make it happen. Other stuff I have going on is I launched a programming company. It's called the Naked Program. We have the app, the Naked Training
mm-hmm.
app, and
I kind of want to try that for the 30 days and see what would happen.
We have a couple different programs available. We have the Naked Program, which is, it's serious, man.
Yeah, like, would I die?
No. Okay, again, it's all within, you control you. And everything is really based off of like because we lift, okay? So it's based off of where you're at. Everything is based off of your percentage. We do a lot of percentage work to keep things, so you're not like guessing or like doing too much weight. We also launched the Peaches program, which I had been planning and thinking about for a couple of years, which is, if you're on the same page as me, it's all about that booty. Mm-hmm. So it's very focused on the lower body, but we do upper body too, and core, and we are now planning. We're in a transitional phase, because here you go. This is the answer to your question. The program is amazing. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. I have a phenomenal team. And we have a lot of athletes. There's a lot of programs out there, especially in my world in CrossFit. There's a lot of people writing programs. I could keep doing this and, have a good handful of athletes where there's decent money coming in. But for sure, to make things better and have it be smoother and have the app be smoother, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people that got to work. There's a lot of people to pay, and we can make it work. But I just don't. I think that I'm more interested in how can I make it more accessible to more people, to a broader audience, and how can we make it bigger and last longer. And we've got some ideas that are pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. And right now we got got people working, and the plan is to be able to relaunch it in January, February. And it's going to be a chance. It's like one of those moments where it's like you take a chance.
Yeah.
It could be awesome and it could be over.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what you got to do. That's kind of how I approach a lot of things is I'm going to take a chance on this, and it may not work.
Right.
But at least I tried.
Yeah.
And everything I've ever heard about entrepreneurs or people that are very successful, they fail all the time, but they win a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually just call my mom, and I'm like, hey, Mom, I'm really stressed out. I was recently home, and I was like, I had a full on, my stress was so high because I was out of town and out of reach for a week. And I came home to just business. Stuff I got to do if I want to be successful and I want to hustle. But it was a lot. Mm-hmm. And Mom looked at me and she goes, you have a lot on your plate. I'm like, I know, Mom. And she's like, I have a really hard time seeing you like this. Is there anything I can do to help you? And I said, Mom, just tell me that if it all falls apart, I can move home. And she goes, yes. And I was like, cool, I'm good.
I'm good to go.
I got a plan to fall back on. Moving home.
But, so there's something you said about kind of making things accessible to people. And every episode, I kind of ask people to send in questions about what they have for each guest. And one of the common questions was, how does someone like an everyday person get into, making that first step of starting a fitness journey?
Like a fitness journey.
Yeah.
Well, one, it has to really be something that you genuinely want. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like as a coach, I can't make you do something.
Right.
I can try. And you might have people that's like, if you called me every day and you lived with me, and it's like, well, now you're asking your coach to completely change their life to try and to force you to make a change in yours, and you're ruining mine along the way. Mm-hmm. I think that when people really decide that they want to have this fitness journey, whether it's like just for fun or a hobby, or they genuinely have like a health reason, they need to change. When it's a big enough reason, when you care about it enough, you just got to jump in. Mm-hmm. People with let's say CrossFit, I've heard a million times, I need to get in shape before I try CrossFit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like people feel that way.
It's like, well, you're never going to be ready for it if you don't just try it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to run,
but I feel
I want to run a mile, but I need to get in shape first. Well, how are you going to get better at running if you don't just go running
and start?
You just got to start. And even then it's like, okay, I want to run a 5K. Or maybe it's like literally, I want to run for 5 minutes. Like I'm so out of shape, I can't run for 5 minutes. Then what I would tell you is, okay, go out and interval it, right? Run for 20 seconds and then walk. And run for 20 seconds and walk. And then as you get better, increase that time. Increase the amount of time under tension. Mm-hmm. That's what you do. I mean, that's how it is for CrossFit. That's how it is, I think, in any sort of training program. You can't expect yourself to jump in and just
be fit,
be good. Yeah. It is a process. It is a process, and within that, you should be happy. It should excite you to know that, one, you're not alone, mm-hmm. and even people that have been doing their fitness, whatever it is, for a really long time, if they're still doing it because they love it and that sort of thing, we're always getting better. No mm-hmm. one has made it. Mm-hmm. It may look different. What they look like doing their 100% may look different than what it looks like, when you're doing your 100%. but it's equally as hard. It's equally as fatiguing. And every day you don't just do it, you're just losing time. And that is something you will never get back.
Right. It's
You know what
almost
I mean?
like
And
you got to take that push, that
Yes.
first push. And
Every day you say next time. Every day you say tomorrow. Every day you you hesitate. You're just losing time.
Mm-hmm.
And we all are always surprised by how fast a year goes by or how fast a month goes by or whatever. We're always like, holy cow, it's Christmas?
Yeah.
Right? You're like,
and it's like, I could have done that.
Yeah, think about if just every day you just made a decision to be a little more active, or every day you made a decision to change your nutrition a little bit. Mm-hmm. Before you know it, you're gonna be a savage. You're gonna be crushing it in the gym, okay?
Yeah.
And that's why for me, I work that way. I work one day at a time. Mm-hmm. I get overwhelmed super easy. I'm the kid in school and college. It's like they hand you the syllabus, and I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
there's a 30-page paper due at the end of the year, and I'm already sweating. I'm stressed out, and it's like, well, it's the end of the year, Brooke. It's first day of school.
Right.
But I will stress over that. Like I'm already worried that I'm going to fail, and that for sure is what people probably think about within health and fitness and big like weight loss journeys or trying to do a marathon for the first time.
Right.
If you just know what the building blocks are, you just know what the tools are, you focus on those, you go one day at a time, and also like be nice to yourself and forgive yourself for if you have little mess ups here and there. Be happy. You'll enjoy it. It's really cool to see your body change, and it's really cool that your body can change.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. It's amazing that it's adaptable and it changes. So
Yeah. And I feel like that just in and of itself is very important that people need to know.
Yes.
But so at the end of every interview, I ask the same 3 questions.
Okay.
And the first question is, what is the one thing that you wear where you're walking into a business meeting or into a sponsorship meeting and you just feel like boss? Like what do you wear that makes you feel your best and most confident?
I mean, I'm definitely in like fitness attire.
Right.
I'm probably in it, like a really good pair of yoga pants, and I like tennis shoes, and I like crop tops. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean nothing like too revealing, but just a little bit, and I show my arms. You know? If I were going into a meeting that was not to do with fitness, I don't know. For me, clothes are kind of tough to find. So like maybe my favorite pair of jeans, usually a black pair of jeans or like a dark denim. I don't like to wear light denim that much. And a nice black top.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love more as long as I like to be basic, clean. I don't like a lot of stuff on my clothes, and I like to the basics with nice hair. Make sure my face looks nice.
Yeah.
And
confidence.
Smell good. And confidence. I wear confidence, Candace. That's what I wear.
Leading into that, what would you say are the 3 most important qualities for success?
I think that you have to be very daring to break the mold. Mm-hmm. And you need to be able to look at what you have, the things around you, and have that and realize how amazing it is, but that it's okay to want more. Mm-hmm. Some people might look at certain things, like if you want to get a raise or you want to be promoted, some people could look at you and be like, oh, what you have not enough? Mm-hmm. Oh, you need more? Oh, you want to, it's like, it's okay to want to be successful. It's okay to want a better house. It's totally okay to want a nicer car. As long as you focus on being a good person and people and you care about other people, I mean, go for whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I think it's important to be driven. Look at me, I'm like writing you a paragraph. Did you say 3 things or a paragraph?
Yeah, 3 things, but I'm listening.
I know. I'm on a soapbox here. Thank you for having me. Okay, 3 things.
So you got driven?
You got to be driven. Be willing to accept when you're wrong so you can learn and grow. Mm-hmm. You can't always think that you're right all the time. How are you right? If you're learning something new or you're doing something you've never done, how do you know what the right thing is?
Right.
So obviously stick to your gut. Stick up for what you believe, but be willing to learn. Mm-hmm. And you got to enjoy it. Yeah. Because if you don't enjoy it and you're not you're not fun to be around, it doesn't matter whatever it is you're going after, how successful you are, it will never be enough, and the things that you have should be enough, but it's okay to want more, but there's a difference between someone who nothing's ever enough, versus someone who just keeps being successful,
right,
and keeps doing things and enjoys starting businesses, enjoys doing this, but they also look around them and it's like, this is awesome,
Right. And finally, leading me into this, what is the one moment where you kind of look back and you're really proud of what you've done? Just one.
I know.
I feel like you have so many.
I guess a moment where I could say that was really proud of, what I had done is it could just be that moment where I chose to let go of something that was safe and was guaranteed for the opportunity to possibly have something bigger. Because that wasn't guaranteed and I had nothing lined up. I didn't leave something for something else. I left something for nothing.
Right.
But, and prior to that, there's many accomplishments I have that you would think would be the moment. But I had not yet changed inside or become a more confident, vulnerable woman. So in those moments, I didn't notice them as being amazing. It was just my everyday, And I think that I also was so scared of making anyone around me feel like they were less than me.
Right.
So I was never really good at accepting compliments or like being proud of my success. So I'm getting better at being able to like look at what I'm doing and say I'm a boss bitch.
Well, I think that's the perfect note to end on. Honestly, that's what this podcast is all about, is just showing that you can be a boss ass bitch and, be confident, be successful. And I just want to thank you so much for making time to come on here. And I'm so excited to see where everything goes for you. But I also think I want to get into that program. And try But yeah, and then, where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Brooke Ence, YouTube, Brooke Ence. You can pretty much search my hashtag, #ItMakesEnce, and find all of my platforms. Also, I think we did talk about it. I did just start a podcast with my best friend Gina Marie Chancharulo, and it's called Between the Reps, and that's because there is so much in life that happens between the reps that I'm putting in and she's putting in at the gym. Right? That's important to us, and health and fitness is important, but not only as a human, but we're talking a lot about things that really apply to women, because obviously we're women, and I don't know much about what happens between the reps for men. So.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you, everybody, for listening to Persister. And please review, rate, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.